and today, welcome to Teen Talks, sorry. Okay. Hi, I'm Sky. Welcome to Teen Talks. Today we'll be talking about being good enough. And the fun fact for today is it's illegal in Switzerland to own just one guinea pig.
So around freshman year, my family moved around a lot, and it was tough to make new friends, and it took me like a month and a half maybe to make 4 people who I thought cared for me and had my best interest at heart. But like going down the way that they told me wasn't like healthy for my mind or my future, and so I was making a lot of bad decisions, like staying out till all hours, just being a hooligan and picking fights, just being very disrespectful to like everyone. And so my family brought me aside and told me that what I had been doing wasn't great for my future, and it was a lot to see my dad and sister and brother, who I didn't realize I was affecting. They were looking at my future like it was in question, like I was doing something really bad, and it wasn't comfortable to sit there and listen to what they had to say, but it was definitely for the best. And so I listened to them because I knew that they knew me best. So I made a turnaround, and I sort of switched up everything that I had done, and I decided to cut off the people who were sort of leading me down this bad path, and I decided to follow my passion in sports and get my grades up to better my future. And after I made everything better, looking back on it, it's hard to see that I could let myself go down this really bad path and not even notice I was doing anything wrong. And looking back at it, I am so glad that I was able to make this turnaround, and can't thank my family enough for telling me that I was doing something wrong in their eyes.
So today we will be talking about the story of Hagar and Sarai. So basically what happened is Sarai was getting very insecure. She was getting older, and God had promised them a baby, and she didn't see how that was going to work. So
right. Yeah, it's really interesting that God always comes through on his promises, but we always doubt God's promises because often there's something like completely ridiculous. I mean, Sarah's getting pretty old at this point. She's in her 80s.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have kids in your 80s.
Right. So basically what happens is she gets Hagar, her servant, to basically sleep with Abram at this time, so that like basically they can have a kid. But then she gets mad and like basically treating Hagar really poorly. So then Hagar runs away, but then an angel comes out and is like, hey, everything's gonna be okay.
Yeah. Hagar is a really interesting story because she's Egyptian, she is a servant, and she's female. Basically, she has 3 strikes against her. And so she didn't really have a lot of choice in this whole, like, Abram-Sarai narrative. She's just doing what she's told. And then when Sarai starts to get jealous, you know, again, she's just doing her job. But then Sarai's like, gosh, she's younger. She's able to, like, give my husband children. Like, it kind of makes sense why she's feeling a little insecure at this point.
Right. So then she goes back after they come down the angel comes down at a river where she's at, and then he's like, hey, go back to Abraham, like, or Abram, and then everything's gonna be fine. So then she goes back, and then she has a baby named Ishmael, and Ishmael, he's like strong, he's a very good baby. And then at this point, now Sarai is named Sarah, and Abram is named Abraham, right?
Yeah, God changes their names. It's kind of part of this covenant relationship that God has with them, that, like, he is renaming them to prophesy basically who they're going to be and what they're going to be known for, how they're going to be important. So whereas Abram just meant exalted father, which is still funny because he has now 1 child, and he's kind of ancient. Abraham is now 100 years old, but Abraham means father of many nations, and so it's really an extension of what his calling is.
Right.
And then Sarah, they translate it princess, but basically it's the feminine form of like a nation's leader. So, like, Sar could be, like, the commander. It's not necessarily just prince. Like, that sounds all nice and cute to us. But, like, she's, like, a powerful, like, she's the female equivalent of the leader.
Right.
And so they're both being given these names, to show here is who God is calling them to be. But, yes, Sarah is now 90 years old.
Yeah, so she's getting really, really old. So then she's getting even more jealous because now there's Ishmael, and that's, like, an actual kid. So then she kicks out Hagar again.
Actual kid. I like that you put it that way. He is an actual kid.
He's a child. He's a person.
Yes, he
He's
is
an
a person.
individual. Yes. So then she kicks him out again, and then...
Well, before that, actually, Sarah does get pregnant.
Oh,
so God does follow through, like he always does, and he comes through though on his promise to give her a child, and she's 90. So it's funny when the angel comes and tells her she's gonna have a kid. Well, he tells Abraham, and she's just like eavesdropping, and she starts laughing, but the angels hear her laughing, and so but she names the child Isaac, which means laughter, and it's kind of fitting because like at first she's laughing at God, but then by the time Isaac is born, it's like she and God are laughing together. It's a shared joke by this point.
Yes, we love that.
So Isaac is born. And then we're back to Hagar and Ishmael's story.
Right. And then they're in the desert, and they don't have enough water. They don't have enough food. He gave them 1 flask of water. Like that's such a bad parenting. Well, you kind of skipped
actually where Sarah is now upset. She's like, I now have an heir, so get rid of Ishmael. And so they did. So she wants to get rid of Hagar and Ishmael, and God tells Abraham, "I'll take care of him. Do it." But then yes, they're out in the desert with 1 flask, and they ran out of water.
Abraham's really slacking.
Kind of a little bit,
Yeah, but then they end up living in the desert, and they actually end up thriving there because God comes down and is like, hey, I'm gonna help you out. And then he speaks to her. They actually speak, and then she gives him a name. Yeah. And then, like, that's just crazy.
It's really remarkable. Hagar is the first woman in Scripture to have God speak directly to her, and to name God. Like, you see throughout Scripture when people have an encounter with God, they give God a name, which is it's really neat because it's this name for God makes God seem really personal. And this is before God has revealed his name, Yahweh, to his people. Right. So really their only experience with God is whatever limited way God has revealed them. And God says, and Hagar says, I have seen the God who sees me. And she felt seen, and she felt validated by God. And God said, I will be with your son also. Yeah, and that's what's even more incredible, going back to the fact that she's Egyptian, she's a woman, and she's a servant. Like, she shouldn't have been good enough, but God made her feel like she was good enough. Like, and same with Sarah. Like, this whole story is basically about how God is making people feel good enough when they either shouldn't be or they're not feeling like they are.
Think of a time in your life when you struggled about being good enough. Do you remember how God sent anyone into your life to help you out of that time? with us today. We hope to see you next week. Have a wonderful day. Bye.